that's the high-level metadata. We've got kind of security-specific metadata. That's where that came from. So these are information that, including the Sigma rules, and almost all of the public Sigma rules do include this. They have a couple of tags on here that are tying it directly back to the attack framework. We'll show in a second. If you don't know the attack framework, what it actually means, it's got some information about the log source, saying, okay, this actually would come from a web server. Right? A lot of the time when you're actually detecting these attacks, are actually going to be happening on a web server somewhere. That's actually really useful because we've just been talking about how actually Loki is all about, you have to tell it at the beginning, where's my data, the lecture at the beginning say, where do I find my data? So we can translate that into a search then that can then query your Loki data more effectively. We've got information about false positives. Where do false positives actually come from, right? Most rules generate false positives. I can't think of many security rules ever in my life I've ever worked with that do not generate any false positives. It's guaranteed they're going to happen. If nothing else, because some is running vulnerability scanners against your live system, and thank you very much. Now I've got a whole bunch of false positives that I can ignore today, but yeah. I've had that happen a few times, as you possibly can guess. And we've also got this kind of level of confidence, right? And actually kind of how confident can you be about this rule as being accurate? And we'll show why we can actually have a high level of confidence in this rule, because we'll get to the meat. Well, sorry, before that. So for those that haven't come across it, this is the MITRE attack framework. It's huge. Don't try and read it. And yeah, you'll go blind. And even when I look at it, even with a normal computer, I'm just like, oh, what is all this stuff? But it's really useful because it breaks down what an attacker does into a bunch of high-level categories of what they might be trying to do. Reconnaissance, initial finding out what your infrastructure is like. Resource development, trying to develop that information, get more information, extend that further. Initial access, getting into your system and getting that initial access to your vulnerable system, and so on and so forth. It moves through the kind of life cycle that an attacker might go through, and often does go through when they actually do these kind of attacks. So here, we're talking in the Log4Shell example, we're talking specifically about an initial access attack that's going to go and attack a public-facing web application. That's quite a good description, I would say, for what we're talking about here. Log4Shell is being used to get that initial access. So this is the meat of the Sigma rule. Okay, when we talk about Sigma rules, the detection is kind of the thing that we mostly care about for actually trying to find the bad things. Okay, so I've simplified this a little bit. There's actually a really, really long list of all the things it's actually searching for, but we didn't have that much screen real estate to show you it all. So I've cut it down to the kind of the basic four kind of things it's looking for at the end of the day. Okay, so these are the prefixes that demonstrate to an attack, to demonstrate to someone who's a defender who's trying to detect these kind of attacks. If I see these kind of prefixes in my log data for a system that uses Java, I probably have someone here trying to use Log4Shell against me. Okay. You might have even seen some of these in your own log data if you ever spend your days looking at log data. I still see it today, right? 2 and a bit years, well, 1 and a bit years after Log4Shell and Log4j happened. I see it happening against Grafana. I should really just like put a big sign on Grafana saying, we don't use Java, please stop trying Log4Shell because you're never going to succeed with this attack. But they don't care, they just keep on trying. You also see WordPress attacks again, and I'm like, no, we're Grafana, what? So this is the positive side. This is what it's trying to look for in your log data to demonstrate this is very likely that someone's really doing an attack against us. But as I said, some people come along and run this against your live production servers every so often, because why not? That sounds fun. Let's do that. Thank you for that. So kind. Especially when they're in your own team. That's the worst bit. So in here, we actually got some like detection false positives, right? This is how we minimize the false positives to some extent. We say, okay, someone's doing a query with Nessus in it, we probably don't need to worry about it because it's probably someone just running a vulnerability scanner. It's not really actually an attack. Of course, an attacker might use that to go, I'm going to put Nessus in my query, like, which happens potentially, but it's less than likely. So usually we can rely on that probably not being. So it's doing the search and it says, okay, we're going to bring these together. We've got the things we're interested in finding. So we're looking for any of these values in our log data. The things we really don't want to see, so the exclude, and then we have a condition that says, okay, look for keywords, don't look for filter, get rid of filter. I do not care about anything that contains filter. That's the basic structure of a Sigma detection, right? It's a very simple detection. It's looking anywhere in your log data. It can be more structured if you need it to be, but it's looking anywhere in log data for these bad things and trying to ignore the good, the not so malicious attacks. Oh, I thought there was another slide after that. Oh, there we are. Okay, let's go forward and then we'll go back in. So you can take that rule and you can convert it into a whole bunch of different languages, right? You can convert it into Splunk query. You can convert it into elastic query. You can now convert it into Loki query because of course we support that. And it's taking that exact search that we've just been talking about. It's using a regex to search for it, doing negation to remove that kind of thing. And you can do exactly the same in Splunk and elastic and so on and so forth. So that said, right, logs are not perfect. And not perfect for intrusion detection at the end of the day, okay? Lots and lots of different systems log data in lots of different ways. This system sends you data in JSON. This system sends it in log format. This system decided to do CSV because they hate everyone. Like, I don't know, yeah, whatever. So logging is challenging from that perspective. Loki provides you with the tool to try and handle that. It takes one approach of kind of you tell it when you're querying it what to look for in the data. Other systems like Splunk and Elastic take other approaches. Often they kind of predefine that. We've got lots of different log aggregation systems, and they're all using their own bespoke query language. All right, and you have to learn N+1 query languages because, of course, you need to know SQL. Everyone needs to know SQL. So you end up learning every single language, and then, of course, everyone shifts onto another system. You're like, okay, new logging. Yay, great fun. And sadly, unlike network traffic, log data often ends up in a bunch of different places everywhere. Right? If you're using the cloud, I imagine everyone in the room is using the cloud probably. Today it's ubiquitous. Like your cloud logs are probably not being stored in the same place as your application logs. Well, unless you're very lucky. Like some people get very lucky, but most people are not so lucky. So you always have to take that into account. You have to consider that. And actually, Grafana is kind of built in a way that says, actually, we want to query from many different places. Grafana doesn't say, right, we only query from Loki. Grafana says, okay, if you've got your data in the cloud, in Splunk, in Elastic, you can query from all of those. It actually integrates into it. So it pulls from all of those and you can query any of them. And as a Sigma also is, we call it the big tent philosophy. Right? This idea that we can support many, many different things and we want to support them because it's valuable to people, the end user. You shouldn't have to learn 20 different user interfaces to do your queries and everything through. And Sigma takes a very similar approach. It says, actually, yeah, we want our Sigma rules to be convertible into as many different things as possible so people can use it, search over their Splunk, their Elastic, their Loki, cloud provider, and so on and so forth. So we're going to finish off with a quick demo, okay? And I will say at this point, what I'm about to demo is it is available in open source, except we are work in progress. Okay, we have developed the ability to convert these queries into from Sigma into Loki, and we can use them in Grafana, and we do all the time. We use them for our own defense purposes as well. We are building a plugin at the moment that we're developing and is going to be open source by the end of the year. It is not today open source. You can't go ahead and download this right now. So I have to say that because otherwise people don't get me. Right, that's not true. So this is the Sigma converter, and this is the plugin here that we're developing at this moment in time. Actually, I'm going to go back to my slides because I actually want the copy of that rule that I've got here. So this is that rule. Let's get the Sigma rule, the full one, shall we? Control A, copy that. Get that in. Okay, so this is Sigma converter. And the Sigma converter, as I say, is here to make it as easy as possible to query as many different log systems that you've got connected up to Grafana, so you can go explore, try and find examples of being under attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a custom rule. I'm going to call it log for shell because I'm unoriginal. And I'm going to go add into there. I'm going to overwrite the existing one. I'm just going to overwrite it. So I've just copied in that Sigma rule, and that's what I'm going to be converting. I've got my Loki instance ready to go. So I've got my Loki instance ready. I'm going to find this query because at the moment, oh dear, why is that not working? Run out of, let's reload the page. Demo-itis, hey? I didn't pray to the right demo god clearly before I started this. Let's try that again. Oh, it's gone to Google Cloud. That's fine. We can do that too. Okay, All right. Ah, I know why. That's fine. No, I don't actually know why. Let's find out why that is. Convert that. Test that. See what happens. Okay. Demoitis, as they say. Yay, okay, it still works even looking over all the data. Weird, I'm wondering why that isn't working. As I say, it's work in progress. And this is, as I say, we're working on this plugin, we've been developing it over time. So yeah, it is not ready yet, and we are going to be putting it out today. Well, not today, we're going to be putting it out by the end of the year. So here, what we've done is we've taken our rule that described this is what bad things look like. We converted it into, in this example, a logql query. We could have converted it into a Splunk instance if we connect a Splunk instance to this instance, and so on and so forth. And we can now search for that over our data. And I can go show you all of the data if we want, and actually show you what we were querying over. This is Nginx data, which you might be going, Nginx, that's not written in Java. True, very true, it's not. It's a C, last I checked. But a lot of companies do put Nginx in front of Java applications for caching, for performance, for a variety of different reasons. I used to run the configuration myself a lot like that. And it also means that you would actually see this kind of data, because otherwise that might be converted into actually the secret that you're hoping the attacker doesn't get hold of, and they probably would with this query. So we can build these queries easily if we need to do configuration around actually the Sigma rule having particular line ways that maybe isn't matching up with what your infrastructure works with. We can build pipelines to fix that. And we can also switch over and we can generate alerts. So we can start setting up an alert, and I can go tell Grafana to actually run that ruler that Bryan was mentioning earlier to constantly check for as new data comes in, constantly checking to make sure, oh, that is someone trying again. What should we do about that? And then after a while, that'll come through there. And of course, being Grafana, we can make dashboards. Yeah, everyone loves a good dashboard. So we can start building dashboards out. We can start visualizing information around that log data so we can understand the context in which those events are happening. And we can start thinking about actually where the attacks might be, what parts of the system might be more vulnerable, and where we might need to start thinking about actually improving our defense. So that is a very quick demo of what we've been building out. As I say, it's not available today, sadly, but we are getting there. We're making very good progress, I think, I hope. And we are getting to the point today that we will be able to have, by the end of the year, we're expecting to have this available open source. And you can go ahead and import any of the rules from any of the Sigma rules that are included in the Sigma repository. So these are all public. There are hundreds, I last counted, I think it was 700 and something rules that target a variety of different systems. You can start looking for different cloud systems you might be using, and you can start hunting for people attacking your different systems. And if you've got Linux systems, if you're running Mac OS, if you're running Windows, we have rules for all of those systems. And as long as you're putting some of those logs somewhere, ingesting it into Loki, into Splunk, into wherever it might be, you can then start querying it and actually start working with it. All right, okay, so that one. Clinic. All right, we are done with 5 minutes to spare.
So what you're showing, it's a plugin for Grafana, a query to apply Sigma rules to the data you're fishing out of Loki.
Out of Loki, but it can also be connected up to other data sources, as many data sources as you are relevant to your organization, right? Wherever you're putting your data, Grafana can connect to it.
So it's essentially just a way of importing Sigma rules.
It's a way of importing Sigma rules and converting them into a variety of different languages to make it as easy as possible, and to be able to have that kind of uniform place where you can track over time as you're adding more systems. Your systems are constantly evolving, right? People are adding new, oh, we've added a new database. Oh, you've added a new database? What? Who asked? Okay, right, you've added a new database, right? Well, we better find some rules for it and start applying them, haven't we? And make sure we're monitoring them. What do you mean you're logging it in? Where? Okay, right. Well, we can convert it into that language. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so yes, sorry, I missed early parts of
right, no
this, but So if you are covering databases or data stores outside of Loki, will they all need to use the same labeling and filtering protocols?
No, not at all. No, the
How
Grafana
do you then normalize between the data coming from different sources?
right, and that's one of the challenges that we talk about when you are working over multiple different data sources
Yes.
in any context. Is they do often vary. And some systems will do what we call schema on write effectively, which is when they ingest their data, they're applying a schema to that data immediately, which usually makes that challenge a little easier. You need to know the schema involves. Some of them don't, we apply a schema on query. But anyway, you have to think about what the schema of my data that I'm looking at right now, which have pros and cons. And you're entirely right. There are challenges to managing those kind of aspects.
Okay.
I won't disagree. But yes, one of the things that Sigma has, and that we are including in our plugin, is this ability to do pipelines. And pipelines are again system agnostic ways of transforming rules to make them work more effectively for your particular environment. And you can apply them regardless of whether you're in Loki, whether you're in.
Great, got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the answer to the question. Thank you.
Right. So want to know, like, in the future, do you have, like, when a pipeline is to add a case management system also in this?
Right.
Or
Yeah. So Grafana has a tool, a plugin integrated that is available, I believe, to all these days, called Grafana Incident, which is a
cloud user.
all our cloud users. Yeah, that's correct. And Grafana Incident is exactly that. Is a case man is an example of a case management system. So it allows you to take a number of events that are coming in that are an incident, so to speak, and kind of react to them, respond to them, take actions. Yes. Very good question.
Yeah, so question on the plugin. So does that mean, again, kind of confirm that it can take the Sigma rule
Mhm.
and it can convert it to, let's say, Splunk query?
Yeah.
Yes, then that's real value. So it's not, you're doing it not just for your own language, it's open and you can do it for Azure Sentinel.
If Sigma supports it, you will. And we've got integration built into Grafana, of course, but though we do have a very wide range of integrations.
Yeah, that integration that we were trying to show during the live demo, so it was actually doing the query live without you logging into
Yeah,
Grafana, and so you can just do it straight from the plugin.
precisely. That makes sense?
That's useful.
Any other questions?
Did we have any questions online?
One more, you promised, because obviously what you showed to us is how to detect if attempts an attack. So to
Oh,
say.
yes, I did,
Right.
yes.
Now, how to detect whether it was an actual attack?
Aha, right, how do you validate that it's an attack? Right, and that's always a challenge, right? Because at the end of the day, there are a number of ways that we might be seeing these things are false positives because someone's doing an SS scan and those or whatever it is. And how do you validate, right? And the answer to that is you can't always, right? Sometimes the answer is too bespoke. The investigation needed by an investigator is going to be something that you can't write a rule book or a playbook to automate, because it involves doing a whole bunch of queries against a bunch of systems that are so dynamic. It's not possible. But there are some circumstances where you can start to automate those responses. So Grafana, when an alert is generated in Grafana, we can fire off to basically any webhook possible. And we've been building into it, we've been looking at integrating with automated playbooks. So when an attack is triggering an alert, you can then automate a playbook that will either try to validate that the attack might have actually happened by querying elsewhere to look. Let's take an example, okay? If you've got if we go back to that example we were looking at in Log4Shell, right? That would have caused an external network connection. And you can quite easily abstract, where is it actually making that external network connection to? If you can check your network logs and see, did we make a DNS request or did we make a request to that server? You can then start to actually validate, was the attack successful? Right? And with those automated playbooks in those contexts, yes, you can absolutely start going down a bit further into it. Now that's outside of the scope of Sigma. Sigma doesn't enable that inherently. But it is a direction we're taking our plugin in. I mean, does that, yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, follow on
Good.
question. So might there be any rationale to composing playbooks solely from Sigma rules? Going forward,
As
it
in,
might be a religious discussion, I don't know, but
as in adding playbooks into a Sigma rule?
no, the reverse. I'm saying
Having a-
compose your playbook day one, Sigma rules only, see how far it gets you. I don't know how complete the rule set is.
Right, so we've been, some of the automated responses and recoveries we've been thinking about have been along the lines of, if we think it's a persistence attack, do we just restart the container that's under attack? Right, because that's a kind of generic response you can take to any kind of someone attempting to gain persistence on your instances is, well, shut down, restart the instance, and then suddenly any persistence they have managed to attain, gone. Nice idea, great way of DDoSing yourself. Well, denial of servicing yourself, right? Because then they work out that, hey, you restart your services every time we make these attacks.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now I can just keep on firing the same attack over and over again and watch you restart your services until you go blue in the face. So there are risks to this, and there are certainly things where actually you need the human in the middle. You need that kind of decision making where you can't fully automate, as we kind of talked about at the beginning, because if you do, you're actually entering a world of pain.
I was thinking kind of if you view the playbook as like, if you had a 3 lines of defense approach, sake of argument, the automated, well, the playbook composed solely of Sigma rules is your coarse-grained filter of a sort. You then bring the human in when there are exceptions that get generated by that.
Okay.
And that's where the decisioning comes in.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, all right, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, definitely. And yes, if you like, that is certainly one way you could design your playbooks and start trying to set up your systems to work in that way. Absolutely.
Okay, I've got one question from
Of course,
online.
online,
Well,
yeah.
it's a double question. So first of all, it's from DA. Does Grafana plan to have contextual prompts for constructing search queries, maybe like the syntax, labels, etc.? The first question, and then can the dashboard be used to click through to the underlying data? So is there like a drill down?
Want to show off your
Yeah.
from Query Builder? Oh yeah, don't.
Yeah, so
yeah, God.
I tend to write queries like this, which is sort of in gibberish if you don't understand it. But I think the question was alluding to this kind of thing where we can say, you know, we want to, I don't know, start with this thing which is a namespace, and I've got 2 of those, so I'll pick that one, and then the one contains whatever, or get rid of that, or
Well, I think even, but I think it's 2 things, isn't it? It's the prompts, and also potentially you've got prompts and values as well. So it's both the key-
yeah, so
it's the keywords that you're looking for. So I think
yeah, and then
it sounds like the answer is yes to this, but
Sorry,
it all depends on exactly what you want to do, doesn't it?
yeah, so you can also kind of add things to the query here.
Yeah, but there is a query builder, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
This is kind of point and click. If you're not so familiar with the
Language.
query
Yeah.
language, you can do it here. And
No, that's good. Okay. There was a follow-on question, which was about when you've then identified some data of interest. Can you click through, or rather on the dashboard, on the dashboard, when you have that nice graphical dashboard with like pictures of the world and what have you, can you do any sort of drill down, any click through on that? So perhaps on that bit at the top, I don't know, or any part really that makes any sense.
yeah, so it kind of depends how it's set up. I mean, something that's always available is this button, which is called Explore. And how do I do new tab? Didn't get a new tab, whatever. So basically that brings up the query that was used for that panel, but in this thing which is called the Explorer, and I can then play with that and so that's the graph that it was producing, but I can also go look at the logs themselves that are underneath that.
So that was a drill down to that specific little
Yeah.
portlet panel or whatever you call it on the screen, yeah.
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 And then you can essentially set up your own links. I don't know if there's any in this.
And then for example, the status 406 says there are only 3 log lines, right? 3 events. So is there any way to drill down to see those 3 lines?
Well, you could set up a link to do exactly that, and it just
You haven't configured the
yeah,
portal to do
the
that
person
right now.
who well, Ward Becker, who stuck his name here to tell us all about it. No, he's one of our solution engineers. He's not set up a link to do that, and I don't know if there are any such links. But yeah, you know, you can kind of get as creative as you like. You can put that kind of drill down link in there, and we also do, like, if you have metrics and logs, you can kind of link between them and things like that. But yeah, it kind of depends how you set the thing up, basically.
All right, I think we should call it a day at that, because we've had a lot of good questions, and we've had some really good information here, and good demonstration. I think your slide at the end was a great summary, so you might want to just leave it on that. I think, you know, perhaps while we're sort of thinking of
The URLs.
and you've got the URLs there as well, but I mean, I'm just thinking of the words at the top here in terms of summarizing what Loki is, what Sigma adds to Loki, and then how Grafana is sort of helping in these initiatives. So thank you very much for coming along and explaining these things to us. It's great to have a link so that people can go and try these things out. Although I can't quite see the link for the play area.
Oh yeah, I didn't put that one out. Play.grafana.org.
Play.grafana.org.
Which everything will be linked from here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's a great asset if people just want to go and try these things out. And then so great thanks to Grafana for providing that. So, and thank you very much for coming. And that's great. So we finished the talk. If you do want to stay, we have some refreshments in the room just to the right here. It's not our normal place, so right, you go and see whether those are there. And thank you for everyone online. So somebody's added that. So thank you, Roman.